So now we are starting with the topic of derivatives. First, I will introduce what are derivatives, then we will look at the forward and future characteristics, their payoffs, and lastly their pricing. So what are derivatives? A derivative can be defined as a financial instrument whose value depends upon or derives from the value of other more basic underlying variables. So a derivative, as the word suggests, it derives its value from other more basic underlying variables, which means that the financial instrument in itself does not have value. The financial instrument has to be issued on something else. For example, it can either be issued on a stock, it can be issued on a bond, it can be issued even on the weather. So derivatives need to be issued on something. Very often, the variables underlying derivatives are the prices of traded assets. For example, a stock option is a derivative whose value is dependent upon the price of a stock. So, a derivative will derive its value from something else. However, derivatives can be dependent on almost any variable, okay? So, there is no benchmark that this can be a variable and this cannot be. It can be any variable. For example, for the price of wheat, the amount of snow falling at a certain ski resort. So, you can even get derivatives on the weather. Now, one of the most first formal markets for derivatives was the futures market for wheat. So initially, derivatives started very simple in a simple market where farmers used to use them. So what happened was that farmers were concerned about the price they would receive for their wheat when they sold it, and millers were concerned about the price they would have to pay. So on the one side, the farmers were worried, and the other side, the millers were also worried because you cannot know the price of wheat beforehand. It will depend upon the harvest. How was it? And that would determine the price. So, what the farmers and millers did was that they realized that the risk that both parties faced could be reduced if they established a price earlier in the year. Like if both of them are worried that what will be the price, then the both parties decided, why do not we predetermine the price? So mill agents would go out to the wheat belt and make contracts with farmers that call for the farmers to deliver grain at a predetermined price and time. So they went into a contract that, okay, we will buy wheat from you maybe 3 months later at this price, this much quantity. So basically, this is a forward contract. So the purchase will take later on, but the decision, the contract is already made in the present time, and the price and time is predetermined. Both parties benefited from the transaction in the sense that their risks were reduced. So both parties now knew exactly what quantity at what price will be purchased. Now, this was the emergence of the forward market. Basically, this is called a forward. The largest exchanges on which futures contracts, another thing that you have is called the futures that are traded on stock exchange, are traded on the Chicago Board of Trade and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So these are the largest exchanges of the world. On these and other exchanges throughout the world, very wide range of commodities and financial assets form the underlying assets in various contracts. So the underlying variable can be commodity, it can be a financial asset, and by commodity we mean it can be on live cattle, it can be on sugar, wool, lumber, copper, aluminum, gold, tin, and so many other things. Similarly, financial assets could include stock indices, currencies, treasury bonds, or simply stocks. So it can be a long list. It can be any variable. Talking about Pakistan's derivatives market, the derivatives based on financial assets are traded on the Pakistan Stock Exchange, and the commodity based ones are traded on the Pakistan Mercantile Exchange. Now, State Bank has allowed only a limited number of derivative products. We have interest rate swaps, forward rate agreements, third currency options, and cross currency swaps. So, this is the only type of derivatives that are allowed in Pakistan. And the authorized derivatives dealer are institutions that are licensed by SBP to undertake certain derivative transactions. And in Pakistan, there are six authorized derivative dealers. We have Citibank, Dutch Bank, Faisal Bank, Habib Bank, Standard Chartered, and United Bank Limited. So these are the six authorized derivative dealers in Pakistan.